The Outsider podcast shares the opinions and analyses of Drew Landry. They are his thoughts, and his thoughts alone, and do not necessarily reflect every member of his audience or newsletter readers. Now, on with the show.
All right, hey, welcome into another episode of the Outsider Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Drew Landry. Thanks for joining me in the best politics podcast west of I-35 in the great state of Texas. Happy to be here with you. And before I get into anything of today's content, wanted to just give you a simple reminder to please subscribe to the Outsider newsletter. You can subscribe to the Outsider Podcast. You can find me on Spotify. You can find me on YouTube, and you can find me on iTunes, Apple Podcasts. Just type in there, The Outsider Podcast, and there I am. Hit that notifications bell so you never miss any new content, and you can always keep up with what I'm up to on Substack, and you can get a daily analysis and commentary of today's, of the recent happenings. By becoming a paid subscriber, you get everything that all the free subscribers get just early, and you get the daily commentary and analysis. It's great to join this community, and it would be wonderful. And I would be greatly grateful, I guess greatly thankful, if you became a paid subscriber. But that aside, if you still want to, just if you like what you got being a free subscriber, that is no problem. Happy to have you along. Thanks for being part of this ride. Now, in today's content, what I have for you is all about the primaries, all about what has happened over the last few weeks with these elections, and I can't wait to get into it with you. So let's go ahead and just dive in here. And so let's understand what has happened. The first Tuesday in March is primary election day in Texas, and it's awesome to look and see what happened. It's an exciting day for me because, I spend a lot of my time watching the returns and seeing what's going on, and I'm back on social media, so I make some posts about what's happening, what isn't getting the attention, and probably what should. And just a couple of things that I'll mention, and then we'll get right into the headlines as to what everybody's been paying attention to, and it's worth spending a few moments getting into that. One of the big races that happened out here in West Texas was the State House race for District 88. That was between chair of the State Affairs Committee in the Texas House. That's one of the big four committees in the Texas House is State Affairs. It's very, very important. You're a key contributor, key lieutenant of the Speaker if you're chair of that committee. Ken King is the chair of that committee, up for re-election, and he had another hard primary fight. He was being challenged by John Browning. And so these two well-funded candidates, all right, and they had just went after each other. They literally spent a whole bunch of money on direct mailers, TV ads, radio ads, just going after each other, and even having members of the chamber saying how so-and-so isn't good, so-and-so is even worse. It really got nasty. And as somebody who just gobbles this up, all right, I was bringing my popcorn. District 88 is a very large geographic district, all right? All the, it's the one person, one vote standard, meaning all the districts have to be relatively the same in population. That's due to a Supreme Court case and that even gets reflected into state legislatures. So they all have to be roughly the same amount of population because everyone's vote has to have the same influence. All right. So because of that, Ken King's district goes into the eastern portion of the Panhandle and kind of stair steps down into the western portion that hugs the Texas-New Mexico border. So it goes all the way up into the eastern portion of the Panhandle down to Gaines County, into Andrews County. That's a large piece of land. And they're meant to represent about 178,000 people for every lawmaker. That's the Texas House. So Ken King has been having these far right groups fund other candidates to try to unseat them, and this has been going on for a long time. Empower Texans, now they're Texans for Fiscal Responsibility, the Texas Public Policy Foundation, whatever they're called. These people ran by Boss Tim Dunn, Ferris Wilks, really all trying just to get rid of him because he doesn't play by their rules. Ken King, people need to realize that this is a power player, and what I mean by that is you can't knock him off his game. John Browning had a whole bunch of money that came from a lot of groups that just don't like Ken King, and honestly, they got 47% of the vote. That was it. Ken King has been facing this for some time. He is no stranger to tough competition, to super competitive and super nasty campaign styles, and he's survived all of them. This isn't somebody who is just this run-of-the-mill West Texas Republican who can't handle himself. This is a guy who has been tested for some time. His resolve is pretty strong. You got some West Texas commentators who will just spend their time going right after him all the time. Like they will just spend free advertising going after Ken King just because they don't like him. They make up these crazy lies. They say that he has blocked so many bills, that he is not a conservative, and he's woke, and all the buzzwords that the far right like to bring out. All that bunch of malarkey. That he's some sort of a rhino. Republican in name only, rhino. Which means you're a fraud if you're called that. Ken King's not a fraud. Ken King is a conservative Republican. Who is in a very powerful position that some Republicans just don't like. Well, you tried. I mean, that's it. You tried. Ken King won. Ken King has been a very important defender of public education, and because of that, I highly respect Ken King. I think he can really read the room when it comes to that. I mean, he put down his sword when it came to the voucher fight. He understood what was happening, and he kind of had to get on board. He wasn't exactly thrilled with it. Neither was Drew Darby. Neither was Stan Lambert. Neither were these other rural Republicans who understood that they just don't have the votes anymore. Abbott got rid of them. He kind of bought his own legislature. So with that in mind, Ken King was able to say, okay, let me just try to get the best deal possible. This is a deal maker, folks. This is a deal maker. And being able to leave something on the table to come back to and pick up at a later point, that's power. That is true negotiating skills. Ken King's been able to do that for a long time. People on his side of the aisle just don't want to admit it. They try to make him seem like he's some sort of a Democrat, like he's a liberal, okay? And you ought to see some of those mailers that was sent out there. I mean, it was just surreal. And It's like these voters didn't know who Ken King was. The real question was who is John Browning? And that's how Ken King was able to win this election. He was able to define himself, and he was able to question who his main competitor was. So the race got super nasty. The race was very competitive. It was very expensive. This is a house race. This is a state house race, folks. State lawmakers make $7,200 a year. That's the salary. The salary, $7,200. Let me just say that again. $7,200 a year. They get $600 a month. That's the gross of it. There are deductions, so they get a whole lot of things taken out of that. It's pocket change, and yet they're spending hundreds of thousands, if not $1 million, on all these mailers, on all these things, just trying to win a seat that is basically volunteer. What's that tell you? That tells me that there's a particular side of this that wants power. They don't really want to represent. They just want power. And that's the Dunn people. That's the Ferris Wilkses of our state. All right? They don't, it's all about Christian nationalism. And as a believer, that offends me. That flat out offends me. And I'm not dealing with that. I don't play that game. Forget those people. And go buy your own candidate. That's what East Texas is for. Okay, there's a whole bunch of them over there. All right, I'm sure there's a former state rep who is called Vaccine Sorcery. You can Google this. I'm not going to say his name. He loves the attention. He'd be perfect for these people. Come back. Let him come back and try to campaign. Let him be their puppet, because Ken King wasn't going to do it. Simple as that. Some of the other lawmakers up in the Panhandle will. Yeah. They know who they are. I don't need to say their names. One of them is another multimillionaire, the daughter of a multimillionaire. So, and they hate public education too. I have no problem saying this because I know I'm right. No problem saying this because I know I'm right. I've said this before, and I hate repeating this, but public education should not be a partisan issue. It just shouldn't be. This should be something that can bring people together. It's become a partisan issue because the Republicans made it a partisan issue. They made public education a partisan issue. And it's concerning to me that you can really no longer be a Republican and support public education. I mean, that's just it. The political right hates public education because it gives people from all walks of life, from different perspectives, the ability to get an education, and that's the spring to a better life. I hate saying that because there are good people living in the Panhandle who are conservative, who are Republicans. It bothers me that I have to say that, but it's the truth. That's the bottom line. And it's not because Stone Cold said so, it's because I said so. Or because it's just the actual truth. Now, Ken King wins this very contested race. I would say spirited, but that's putting it way too mild. That was a knockdown, drag-out fight. And Ken King, yet again, proves that if you want to take the crown off of him, you're going to have to do a lot more than that. Kudos to Ken King. Kudos to him and his campaign for withstanding that particular nasty primary fight. Now, look, you got to be real about a lot of things here. West Texas is not exactly the hottest area for Democrats. I haven't said anything that is controversial. If West Texas starts voting for Democrats, the entire state's going to change. Let's just make that very, very, very clear. It starts electing. I didn't say voting. I said electing. That said, all due respect to having these Democratic competitors, and believe me, I was one of them. I hated hearing this, but I also knew that it was true. They're going to have a real tough time in this general election because they're not going to have any money. That's just the basic parts of it. That's just the basic knowledge. The Republicans are going to have that money. The Democrats won't. They won't be able to advertise as well as the Republicans will. So those direct mailers, calling these Democrats woke, calling them communists, calling them, supporters of dictators, all this crap that is nothing more than false for one and campaign fodder for two. They won't be able to really fight back other than through earned media. And that's tough for Democrats in this area in West Texas. It just is. So that's the importance of a well-funded campaign. And the people always like to make George Soros out to be this boogeyman. That's all that he is, folks. He's just a boogeyman. He's just one. Whereas the Republicans and the conservative movement have like five. You have the Koch brothers, you have Jeffrey Yass, you have Alex Fairley, you have Boss Tim Dunn, you have Ferris Wilks, Tillman Fertitta, Miriam Adelson. I just listed a whole host of millionaires and billionaires in West Texas who are only in this for money and power. That's it. So that's the end of it. They're not boogeymen. They're not made up enemies. They're real. That's a real threat. Republicans don't want to talk about that. Don't want to talk about that. Somehow it's all George Soros and his, phantom money coming out here and influencing West Texans. Ooh. Give me a break. Give me a break. Come on. Let's get real. So, bringing it back to full center here. The Democrat who's running out there, I wish her all the best. Okay? I really do. And I think, she's going to have a really tough time, but hey, anything can happen in an election. We never know what's going to take place. We never do until it happens. So when people say you have no chance, that should be a motivating factor for you. I just want you to know that. Let that motivate you. Let that be the thing that gets you up every day. I'm going to prove them wrong. And I am one of those people who believe that. Who think, you're going to tell me something, I'm going to prove you wrong. You say I can't do something, I will. It will happen. So to the Democrat who's running out there, I can't think of her name off the top of my head. It's Heather. That really sucks. I should have been a little bit more prepared for that. But keep up the fight. Keep it up. I hope you're able to give Ken King a very competitive election. Because Democrats in that area need to. You got to get someone out there, because the more you get them out there, the more likely you get more people to actually vote for you. And the more competition there is, you'll start to swing people who are disenfranchised, who are totally disillusioned by their own home party, the Republican Party. But that takes a lot of gumption. That takes a lot of perseverance. But you can either have results or you can have excuses, but you can't have both. All right. So there's that little part that I just wanted to spend just a few minutes on. Now I wanted to get into the primary. The primaries that made all the big news. We've heard all about this for the last few days. I mean, there were so many news stories from the New York Times, from the Washington Post, from Politico, Wall Street Journal, Christian Science Monitor. All of these particular major publications were all writing about the Texas primary, and particularly about John Cornyn. All right, he's been making all the news around here. People so scared about John Cornyn, whether or not he's going to be able to win this thing, or whether Ken Paxton's going to come in here and do all this. I mean, okay, I get it. So here's what ended up happening. Now, for those who don't know, in Texas, there's what's called the majority rule. So in order to win the primary, a candidate needs a majority of the vote, which is 50% plus one, half plus one. So if you get 50.01%, you have a majority. That is a majority. So Ken Paxton got 40%. John Cornyn, I think, got 42%, and that was it. So if there is no majority, the top two vote recipients move on, like they kind of move on to the next round, if you want to think of it like that, like a game show analogy. They move on to what's called a runoff. So the primary is held on the first Tuesday in March. The runoff is held on the fourth Tuesday in May. So with that said, Paxton and Cornyn have about 2.5 months to kind of re-campaign and kind of circle the wagons, get themselves kind of recalibrated. People thought that the president would be an X factor in this. That as I'm recording this, the president has made some sort of a guarantee that he's going to endorse somebody, and that person's going to be that's going to be the golden touch for the Republicans. And who he doesn't endorse, he's going to try to convince them not to run anymore, to drop out of the race. There's been a lot of speculation that Cornyn was going to get the nod from Trump, that a lot of the people close to Trump and close to Cornyn are talking to each other, trying to get the president to endorse John Cornyn and just end this whole thing. And so that's been brought to Ken Paxton's attention, and he has said, hey, I'm not dropping out. Unless the SAVE Act is passed, that's the only way that I'll drop out. Okay. It's a stupid thing to... Look, I expect nothing but dumb coming from Ken Paxton, okay? Let's just face the fact here. So what can the president do to get Ken Paxton perhaps out of this race? Well, Pam Bondi might have a vacancy. Maybe she's going to be, fired like Kristi Noem, or reassigned. Maybe she'll be put on some delegation to go visit the penguins in Antarctica. I have no idea. But there could be a vacancy inside the Attorney General's office. And that may be the thing to get Ken Paxton out of the race. But then again, in this sort of environment, I think Ken Paxton, you have to believe him. I don't think he's going to leave. I don't think he's going to drop out because he hates John Cornyn. Let's just tell the truth here. Their quote unquote feud is personal. I don't know how far it goes back. I don't know. But I can tell you this. John Cornyn has no intention to ever yielding to Ken Paxton. And Ken Paxton has no intention to yield to John Cornyn. So, their conversation is all about electability. John Cornyn thinks that if Ken Paxton is the nominee, then that is going to make that seat in play for the Democrats. And then the Democrats possibly have nominated someone who might be able to sway voters over to their side. That's Ken Paxton's argument. You say Tallarico is a smooth-talking guy, and he openly talks about his faith, and he is somebody who can be very, very, very dangerous. And I don't think he's wrong about that. I think Cornyn's right. Ken Paxton, I don't know how many times I have to say this. I've written a lot about Ken Paxton, and he has always gotten away with everything. He must, like when he was a kid, he must have been told he was very special. Like he never did anything wrong, So, that's so very interesting to me that he's able to do this, to actually persuade people to say, vote for me. I'm Ken Paxton. I don't think Cornyn's wrong here. Ken Paxton is a liability. Make no mistake about it. Ken Paxton is, without a shadow of a doubt, a liability for the Republicans. But there are those who don't think so. I mean, they think, it doesn't matter who we nominate. We'll all coalesce around him, and we'll just, we'll beat whoever the Democrats nominate. It doesn't matter who we nominate. It's a slam dunk. Not so fast. Here's why. In 2018, yes, I know, Ted Cruz beat Beto O'Rourke by 2.5 points. But let's also know that there was an enormous amount of Republicans who voted overwhelmingly in the primary. More Republicans, let me back that up. More people chose the Republican ballot, chose the Republican primary, than chose the Democratic one in 2018 by a very sizable difference. That didn't happen in 2026. In Texas, more people chose the Democratic primary than the Republican primary. So there could possibly be genuine Democratic enthusiasm. And here's why. One is that the party of the president typically gets punished in midterms. Folks, I'm not telling you anything that is controversial here. It's been that way for a long, long time. Okay? Ever since we've been studying voter trends and voter behavior, it's been this way. A lot of it has to do with public mood, just unimpressed with the presidential appearance and the performance. Just nothing's working. So people get kind of upset about that. Can Congress manipulate that? Absolutely. No question. But that said, there's a genuine thought that the party opposite of the president, they could have a whole lot of voter enthusiasm, that they can actually feel a trend coming, that a change is in the air, and that they think that this is the election that we're going to change things. And so they have an idea that there's legit voter enthusiasm. And look, that's another thing that's been around for some time. You can look at 2010. The Republicans were very much motivated to go vote. 2014, the Republicans were very much motivated to go vote. Democrats were very motivated to go vote in 2018. Republicans in 2022. So here we are with the Democrats now. They're being motivated to actually vote. And we're seeing this taking place as they chose the Democratic primary over the Republican primary. It is very much a possibility that more people chose the Dem primary over the GOP primary because they like the candidates running for Senate. or they don't like Donald Trump. That is very much a possibility. The other possibility that we can look at here, quite frankly, is crossover voting. Now, I've been saying this in certain conversations because, look, we're not really going to know if there's legit enthusiasm on the Democratic side until we know. So you're going to hear a lot of people say, it's there. I know it is. It's definitely there. They can find whatever type of evidence that they can find. I mean, and use that as see, told you. That's their source. Okay. But you have to capture that, and you have to wait to honestly assess things. There's too many people with microphones, and I'm included in this, who want to be the first to say something. They want to be the first. They don't want to be correct. They want to be first. And that's a reality, and that is existing right now. There are people saying there is legit Democratic enthusiasm. I don't think that's wrong. I just don't think I think it's premature to actually say that. Because if there is, it's up to James Tallarico and Gina Hinojosa to harness that for almost 8 more months. That's their job. They got to do that. That's just the way it is. Can they do that? Can they keep up this momentum? Can they fan the flame? And with the president being as unpredictable as he is, let's just face the fact. I mean, I don't think Donald Trump thinks before he talks. He probably wants to be just as surprised as everyone else is as to what comes out of his mouth. So that said, with an erratic president who's also unpopular, poll after poll after poll after poll, that's actually objective, not like, Trafalgar, these crazy, Republican pollsters who are saying, oh, he's doing fantastic. Objective polls. Well, every survey will come back and say he's still unpopular. He's very unpopular. Well, Drew, he won the election. Yeah, that was about 2 years ago. You do know that that public opinion changes. And that same statement goes to me. If the president becomes suddenly popular with these objective polling, that's going to be good for the Republicans. It is. But that's not what we're seeing. We are seeing affordability as an issue that the Republicans have to own, even though they're pushing back on it. And they forget, in politics, when you're explaining, you're losing. Okay? When I'm recording this, the average price of gasoline just went up to around $3.25 a gallon, according to AAA. And I think even Gas Buddy, that's a heck of a source. So you have costs going up. People still don't trust the president on inflation. They don't trust him on foreign policy. They have negative views on him on the economy. All right. So I'm not saying anything that can't be verified. I even put that, you can go pause and rewind. You can view all that on the figures that I just showed you. But what we have to remember is that this is what the Democrats can use to harness their support. They campaign on this. They talk about it. They keep bringing it up. What do the Republicans have? Culture war issues. That's it. How many more times do you have to hear that somebody is woke before you get sick of it? Then everybody's woke. It's like this overuse of rhino. At some point, if you call someone who is a diehard Republican, who's conservative as ever, and you call them a rhino, it doesn't mean anything anymore. It just means someone who disagrees with you. That's the same thing with this whole woke stuff. It's people who never picked up a book, who didn't want to read history, who understands that things are nuanced. I mean, come on. It's like I'm saying that if you argue that the Civil War was started due to slavery, you're somehow woke. What? No, it means you read a book. So if reading is woke, oh my. So how many times can you bring this up? I mean, the Republicans can rattle it off for you. You know, he's for men and girls sports. He's for boys and girls locker rooms. He's woke. He's all for transgenderism. He's for, you know, boys going to school then coming back as a girl. I mean, all of this crap. I mean, come on. When the Democrats are talking about things that actually, like, you know, matter to paying bills, you know, how's that farm bill coming along? You know, we just got some notification here that it's actually, you know, that there's some movement on it. Okay, great. You know, do farmers really want to have a bailout for all their failed crops, or do they actually want to produce a crop? It just seems like that the president doesn't care about that. Just do more bailouts for Argentine beef, and then do a bailout for, you know, just give the farmers, you know, $13 billion and just let them be happy. Give the ranchers that money too, and then just, you know, y'all just need to stop talking to me. I mean, that's the president's attitude. That's the Republicans' attitude. They don't care about ranching and farming. They just go out there to get a picture taken. I mean, how many times have you had a congressman during their term, and not during campaign season, come and visit you on your farm, talk to you about what's going on? You want to get real? Oh, Drew, it happens all the time. Don't give me that. Don't even try it. It's all that lip service. And look, that's true for just politicians in general, but it just bothers me that all the Republicans are going to talk about is all these fringe social issues. That's it. And the Democrats should talk right past it, or laugh at it, roll their eyes at it. Because those social issues is what helped them win 12 seats in the Texas House of Representatives, to win 2 seats in the Texas Senate, to take over 40 seats in the U.S. House of Representatives. If they really want to talk about culture war stuff, and if the price of gas is too high, and if groceries are too high, and you're worried about your kids' school even being open for next year, and you can't get to a doctor who's not an hour away, and all the rural hospital has is a grant program that they have to apply for money. Thank you, one big beautiful bill. No, that ain't gonna get you anywhere. Ain't gonna get you anywhere. And that's what all the Republicans are saying right now about James Tallarico. That's what they're saying about him. That somehow he is this woke person who's all this stuff. Soft on this, soft on that, soft on everything else. And truth be told, it's laughable, because they're already going after him. They're already scared of him. They're already hitting him on this. Go look at X. Go look at the governor's posts on these things. The president is scared to death of James Tallarico. Cornyn, Paxton, already scared out of their mind about James Tallarico. So, which one of those has the best bet to beat him? Not Kim Paxton. If I was a Republican voter, if I was going to vote in the Republican runoff, I would not be voting for Ken Paxton. But I want you to. Now, Drew, you got to be careful now. That you say this a lot. Be careful what you wish for. You're right. You're right. But I would love on that debate stage for James Tallarico to tell Ken Paxton and make this a debate about character and say that is the reason you were impeached by 61 of Democrats and 60 Republicans in 2021, in 2023. That's why you were impeached, because you lack character. Ken Paxton just brings out a whole bag of goods that you can just beat him up on. That's it. And if you're a Republican, why would you want that? Like, for real. That's I mean, the Republicans like to think that the Democrats are all emotional, like they don't put that they choose feelings over facts. You vote for Ken Paxton, you're putting feelings over facts. That's a stupid thing to do. But hey, go ahead. You're just having the writing could be very much on the wall that this election is over before it even got started. People in Texas chose the Democratic primary over the Republican primary. And an extremist like Ken Paxton, he's your nominee, he wants to lead the ticket. That sucks. That would suck if I was Speaker of the House Dustin Burrows, if I was Ken King, if I was Carl Tepper. Why would that suck for them? Because they voted to impeach him. And now he's going to lead their ticket? Eek. Eek. Okay. One other thing I wanted to mention here before we get out of here is, I'm out here in West Texas. Congressman Jody Arrington, Budget Committee Chair, is no longer running. It's an open seat. And 7 candidates ran for this thing, from Lubbock to Abilene, everywhere in between. One of them was Ryan Zink, who still believes that what he did on January 6th was free speech and that he was standing up for something. I doubt he's listening to this. But Mr. Zink, I don't know what you do for a living, but you're a seditionist. Flat out and simple. Those guys with the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys, they were going to be in jail for 20 plus years for acts of sedition. And if you're of the mind that you were a patriot for that, you're a traitor for doing that. So, if you didn't like those election results of the primary, why are you not storming all the election offices? Why are you not saying those things are rigged? I'd like to know that. I really would. But I think one of the biggest errors of that was not from Matt Smith or not from Abraham Enriquez, and even though Enriquez has some issues there. The biggest error of all this came from Jason Corley, Lubbock County Commissioner, Precinct 2. The county commissioner has been a lightning rod since he first came in. There's people who work inside that courthouse who don't like him. There's people who are on that commissioner's court who don't like him. And we all know that the county judge and he do not get along. We all know that. I'm not saying anything that's a secret. I'm an outsider. I don't know any inside stuff. But Corley misread the tea leaves, and he's probably really kicking himself. And he should be. He felt that there was, and look, I've been in the room with these conversations. I've heard them all before. If you run, we will help you. We'll get you this. We'll help you with that. We'll put you in front of this PAC, and we'll get you, we'll form this super PAC, and we'll really get you some money. And then he opened his mouth. I mean, he's got he can talk all day about his conservative record, and if you're into that and proof and all that, he had it. Make no mistake about it. But look, he's just Yosemite Sam. He's quick to anger. He has little to no leadership capabilities. He can win a very regional election. I'll give him that. But he just doesn't have the wherewithal to think deep. I mean, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. And I'm going to reference my favorite TV show, The West Wing here. He's a .22 caliber mine in a .357 Magnum world. And that's just what it is. And he thought that he was going to have a great deal of support. He really did. And I kind of feel bad for him because he got 4th or 5th place. He got 10,000 votes. I mean, that's a lot better than what he did in 2016, where he got like 6% of the vote or something like that. But here, Tom Sell just was a force within the Republican side. He almost ran away with it. Almost. He didn't, but he came pretty close. But that's really the issue here with Corley is he can't see the forest for the trees. Simple as that. And that's on him. He shouldn't have ran for Congress. He shouldn't have ran for it. He shouldn't have run for it. He should have continued on his thought to run for county judge. That would have been a more interesting campaign. That was really where his thing was. His whole mojo, his whole thing was with the county. He's a regional candidate. I don't even know if he even went down to Taylor County to even campaign. There's 3 big cities in District 19. Lubbock, number 1, is Lubbock. Number 2, Abilene. 3, Big Spring. And he put all of his eggs in the basket of Lubbock County. Maybe a few others. He didn't have any money. So what was promised to him didn't happen. If that was the case. I know those conversations. I've had those conversations. They've been had to me. People call me, say, "Hey, man, you got to consider. I mean, we will help you. We will do all this." I said, "No, you won't." I know that all too well. Been promised that way too much. No thanks. So, Corley's deal should have stayed with the county. He bit off far more than he could ever chew, and now he's out of public service. I don't think we've seen the end of him, unfortunately. I don't think that. I wish, because I don't think he's a very good public servant. He's more self-serving than he is public serving, but, whatever. But the runoff there will be Tom Sell, and as I'm recording this, it seems like it'll be Abraham Enriquez, and we'll see how that goes. All right. Final thought here is if you really want a competition for this U.S. Senate seat, folks, if you're a Republican primary voter and you're listening to this, let Ken Paxton be your nominee. Just go ahead. You're, as Molly Hatchet saying, and I've said this a lot, you're flirting with disaster. John Cornyn's right. I don't say that very often, but John Cornyn's right. He is not fit to lead your ticket. But if you want to do that, you want to just say, forget you, Drew. Go right ahead. Tallarico would love to have a character debate with Kim Paxton. Love to have a corruption debate with Kim Paxton. Love to have an infidelity debate with Kim Paxton. Love to have a voting record debate with Kim Paxton. A public education conversation with Kim Paxton. Paxton can't smooth his way out of that one because the lights will be on. All right. There's that. Thank you, folks, for listening in. Appreciate you. And, folks, I'll see you again very, very soon.
The preceding analyses and opinions were that of Drew Landry and his alone. They did not necessarily reflect all of his podcast listeners or newsletter readers. Thank you for listening to the Outsider Podcast. Be sure to follow The Outsider on X and on Facebook. Also, don't forget to sign up to be a free subscriber to his newsletter on Substack. Just look for The Outsider. We will see you again next time.